Hi everybody, my name is Alexander Dahl. I'm the creator of the Manifest Brutality project, and I'm kind of looking to restart this channel and kind of focus on some of the more kind of esoteric matters that impact independent production and recording for music. There's a lot of really good resources out on YouTube about the various niches that encompass the music industry, whether it be marketing, production, or the talent side of it. And some of those things I'll provide links for at the end of this video and in the comments for it. What I want to focus on is mainly the way that musicians tend to interact with each other and the way that music itself is developed on an independent scale. And so with Manifest Brutality kind of reaching the next height that we want to accomplish, we've put out 3 albums independently that I recorded and produced. I did drums and vocals for. And then also I've welcomed my friend Matt to do some vocals on the records as well. And then I have a friend that moved out of country that I work pretty exclusively with to develop a lot of the guitar work and stuff. Otherwise, I kind of do a lot of that myself, and I wanted to kind of open up that project, which kind of leads me into one of the topics that I want to talk about, is the general community that surrounds forming a band and getting musicians together, and the way that typically it can be a complicated and kind of emotionally hazardous environment. A lot of the times you run into people that kind of have the ego side of it, that think they're just going to immediately launch into something big, or they'll only want to be a part of something that they deem to be the next big whatever. And then beyond that, you'll have your spectrum of humanity, the philosophies that fill in the gaps. And I kind of want to use this channel as a forum to kind of let all of us share those stories, because not all of us have them. Some of us have great musicians that we work with. I myself have a couple that I've produced several records with that I would do so in a heartbeat again, and I continue to. And that's another aspect that we'll get into later in this video. To start kind of the community basis of it, I'm just gonna share a story of mine, and this is an old story. I've got plenty to go around, but I want everybody that watches this video to kind of chime in, share your story, what's happened to you, and if you have more than one story, share all of them. So this particular story happened to me about 11 years ago, back when I was leaving the first band that I drummed for, and then kind of branching out and looking for new people to play with. And so I found them on Craigslist, and they wanted me to come audition, so I told them I would, and I had no reservations going into it. I had high hopes, as you always hope too. So I went in and met these people. I had to drive downtown. It was snowing out. It was rather messy. It was late in the evening on a weeknight. I don't remember which night. Doesn't matter. And so I get in there, and it's these couple kids my age at the time. And one of them's a guitarist, one of them's a bassist. And you could tell that they had their own dialogue, their own repertoire that existed between them. Whatever it wasn't something I was clued in on, because I just didn't have the length of dialogue that they had as well. So they kind of just pick up their instruments and didn't really say very much. They said, "Hey, how's it going? Who are you?" The whole, awkward introductions that you do when you're auditioning in the first place with random internet strangers. And granted, this was 11 years ago, so the internet strangers then were a little bit more internet strangers. So they start playing, and they kind of look at me, and they're like, "Well, why aren't you playing?" And so I was like, "Oh, okay." So I, waited for them to stop, restart whatever song they were doing, because it wasn't a structured song. It was a complete jam session. And for the people that I play with, they know that I very much lean. I like to develop. I like to write. I like to create the song, and I recognize that jamming has its own potential, and some people are incredibly talented at it, as well as some of the best songs are developed through that jamming process. For me, I don't necessarily like to do that. It makes me a little bit uncomfortable because I like to have a groundwork that I'm focusing on when I'm creating a song. But when you're in the auditioning phase, you're pretty much always going to be working on a jam for the first practices or two, unless they have, their own material that they've sent you prior. In any case, they start playing their song, and so I come in, start drumming, and they stop. I don't know if it's halfway through, whatever. Eventually they stop playing after a bit, and they both are just like, oh, that's really cool. Let's try to get a recording of it. So I'm just like, but I mean, it's nothing. What are we recording? And so for whatever reason, they wanted to get a recording of it, and their version of recording of it was on, one of those old school detective like tape recorders where you're mashing buttons to hit record and play at the same time with a fucking tape deck. And whatever. Back then, independent and home recording studios were still on the expensive side, so it's understandable that they had to get some sort of low quality thing in order to get whatever recording they wanted. So they do that, and so one of the guys, the guitarist, who seemed to be the one that was in control, the lead or whatever, and the other guy kind of is the one that's appointed to hit record since he was playing bass. The guitarist said he had a little intro part, so he should hit record, and then the bassist should come in when he comes in. That sort of dynamic. So that's what happened, and he goes up there, and hits record. Guy starts playing his thing, and without even blinking an eye, the guy picks a little crack pipe up off of the mantle that this recorder is playing on, hits it right there, and then just sets it right back down, like almost guaranteed it's on the recording. I've never heard the recording after that, for the following reasons. As soon as I noticed that, I kind of, finished the little bit that they were doing, kind of just said, oh, well, I'm going to step outside and have a smoke. And, then they came out and smoked with me. And then I was kind of just like, yeah, I don't think this is going to work out. I'm just going to move on, and, good luck to you guys, but this isn't for me. So that's one of the stories that I have of it. And, maybe they're out there today making great music. Who knows? But it's those types of stories that, I want to hear from you guys. Like, what craziness have you guys encountered, whether it be music or auditioning for any sort of troupe or what have you? I want to hear those stories, and I'll share them. And, we can make a community about that sort of thing. So moving on from there, one of the larger aspects of the Manifest Brutality project that I want to begin to focus on, because we're constantly developing material. We try to set a schedule that we release a 12-song EP every 2 years on Halloween, because black and orange is the Manifest Brutality colors. It fit with Halloween. I never exactly intended those two things to mesh together, but, once we were looking at an initial release date for FC, the debut Manifest Brutality album, that was kind of what we decided on, and it just worked that way. The debut album, FC, kind of brings it into a note that I wanted to discuss, which was essentially, what is Manifest Brutality? What does it mean? Why is it Manifest Brutality? And I get a lot of back and forth about this and like what the meaning of it is, and it sounds like something that it's not, and there's just a lot of ambiguity about the concept and the meaning of it. So I want to provide a little clarification of that, and the FC is a good jumping part for it. So in the Drake equation, it's one of the equations of whether or not there is life in the universe is FC, which is, in summation, to paraphrase, it's essentially whether or not a sentient species will destroy themselves before they leave their planet to find intelligent life outside of the planet. And Manifest Brutality is my kind of play off of Manifest Destiny, that it's the inherent warning of the Drake equation, that humanity may destroy itself if, we don't kind of watch our back, get our things organized, and so forth. So Manifest Brutality is essentially that. It's not a positive or a negative. It's an integer. It's a factor. It's something that was manifest long ago, and it's something that I just decided to kind of write under. And I've been writing under that name for about 20 years now, and I've written 12 books of poetry. I'm on my 12th one. And I've written 3 albums under that. We have the material ready for the next album to be released in 2020, but I want to kind of add a little bit momentum to the Manifest Brutality concept and project. And that's what kind of brings me into creating this channel and this community, and opening it up to other musicians, and welcoming, because I know through my experiences in being a musician and trying to work with other musicians and create a community, that there's a want to be invited rather than assume invitation. And I understand that, and I get that. Unfortunately, with the wide net that I'm casting with this video over the internet, I am kind of putting it into that realm where you have to, invite yourself, because this video is my invitation to whoever is listening to it and wants to participate. So the way that I have the structure for Manifest Brutality set up is everybody gets credit for what they do. Everybody gets paid out for what they do. The royalties are dispersed based upon who put into the song. And for the most part, if it's like 3 people that put in on the video, I always take the lower cut myself and cut the other 2 people in on 35%, because this isn't something that I'm engaged to get rich off of. This is something that I want to propagate. I want to create a community where people feel like they can contribute something, get, unfortunately, pennies at this point back in return due to the state of the streaming music industry and the way that that's going. But it's an avenue that I want to open to other people and musicians, and whatever it is you play, whatever it is your skill level, there's a home here, and we can make something work, and you can be reimbursed for that commitment and that time. With all of us working together, if we get a bunch of people and we're all working together to promote what we've contributed, those couple pennies are going to turn into a couple bucks, and that's great. If that happens, that's wonderful. If not, we're at least building a community where independent musicians are independently creating music together, and we're not exactly yielding to the way that the current constraints of the music industry is put on music. Now, that being said, there's a lot of good resources out there, is what I should say. One thing in particular that I kind of want to point on in regards to this, and I first started kind of developing this idea with the guys that I write music with back in January, shortly after the release of the last album. And I was kind of pitching around the idea of gaining momentum on it, having more of a presence with Manifest Brutality, and creating something that was unique, but also invited collaboration for other people. And it's been a bit difficult to kind of figure out the exact pinpoint and the exact way that I wanted to do that, which is why I kind of want to open it up to the stories about our troubles in trying to make music, find committed musicians, dedicated people that want to make a project work, whether it be, globally successful, or if it be for, your own sense of accomplishment. Those are both valid goals to work for. And one of the things that I found is the subreddit for bedroom bands, where essentially the people that subscribe to it, they can collaborate and work together, and they've been successful to release their own albums out of people that exclusively work and generate their material through the internet and via bedroom bands. The one downside to bedroom bands is the fact that typically they only promote and sustain projects that originated on bedroom bands, which, you know, that's fine. Good for them. I wish that I could promote this project and this collaboration attempt on bedroom bands. You know, maybe I'll mention it, but I don't think I'll try to really promote it like that, because they deserve respect for what they're doing, and I don't want it to feel like I'm trying to, you know, take something away from what they've done. Beyond that, you know, there's a lot of great music product and media that's on YouTube. For production, you have like Glenn Fricker at Spectre Media Group. You know, for music marketing, Adam Ivy's got some really good material. There's countless talent that is promoting themselves on YouTube. I had written down a couple of them, but you know, there's so many. I don't want to minimize what, you know, somebody that I haven't heard of is doing, because what they're doing is just as valid as the couple that I wrote down. And then obviously, you know, there's a plethora of covers that exist that people have created on YouTube to promote their own skill. And you know, these are all great examples of what musicians have done to propagate themselves and to show their skill and their independent nature inside of the current state of the music industry. Because, you know, it's no lie. It's nobody's confused and casting aspersions about what mainstream music is versus what independent music is. And we can all come together to help collaborate and do something that is a little bit different, but still has the potential to actually be beneficial for all of us. So with that being said, I set up a Discord channel for the Manifest Brutality project. It'll be in the comment section and the links in the description. Please feel free to join, whether you just kind of want to be a part of our crazy audition stories of trying out with other musicians, or if you're a musician that actually kind of wants to collaborate and build something and, you know, start that snowball of all of us gaining success together. And there is a Twitter. It's at mbrutality. I'll try to throw it up on the screen when I edit this thing. And then there is a Facebook page for Manifest Brutality. Feel free to check that out. A lot of the same information that I've put up in this video is on that page. You know, I'm not a very social media savvy person. I do my best, but at the same time, I've got a lot going on, and it's hard to divide up all of that time and focus resources on something that, you know, maybe I wish I didn't have to do. Like, I'm not so big on taking pictures like what Instagram would require, but you know, there's a bunch of bands that do it. There's a bunch of projects that do it. It's something I should probably look into. But I don't know what material and media I would feel comfortable putting out there in that forum. So it's probably going to be a while on any sort of Instagram type thing. This video style is something that I put together because these are kind of stories and shit that I can get behind and believe in, because it happens to all of us, and we all need to feel more comfortable with what has happened to us. So with that being said, I appreciate you listening to this video. If you made it this far, please feel free to contribute. Put whatever you have down in the comments, and you know, let's grow this together. Let's do something that, you know, if it's being done, I haven't heard of it being done. Yeah, it probably is, but you know, let's be somewhere in the middle. All right. Goodbye, everybody.